Welcome back to Good Morning LaLa. I'm so excited to welcome to the show Sifu Matthew. He has mastered the martial arts of wellness. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So for those people out there that don't know what a Sufi is and don't know what Kung Fu is, would you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, okay. So a Sifu, they call it actually a Sifu in the Chinese lineage. It just means like a teacher or a master or a father, basically. And it just means that you have a level of expertise in that discipline or art and understand how to apply that to any situation. So I like to think of taking the martial arts and being able to use it in any single situation versus just, let's say, combat or fighting.
Yeah, it's like a way of life.
It's absolutely a way of understanding interaction between organisms.
Right, I love that.
Yeah.
When did you discover martial arts?
It discovered me, I would say, when I was 3 years old.
Wow.
So I've been doing it pretty consistently from 3 until now.
Wow.
And I can say that it's had just a profound effect on so many aspects as far as like listening, understanding, feeling, and then moving power, and really understanding like what that means on a way that I kind of evolved to, you know, over a lot of injuries, a lot of issues, and then trying to figure out like why are things not changing and how do I start to use what I know to make something really happen for real.
You have the reputation of being the injury whisperer.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Okay. So, you know, that happened because over time I started working with athletes and people who had really, really serious problems. And there were often times where I'd literally walk in and heal something within like a minute that was out for 12 years, 20 years, even genetic conditions that they're kind of on my website. I've had people come in who've had like born with toes that were deformed and they literally disappeared within like 5 minutes or 4 minutes.
The toes did not disappear.
No, you're right,
but the
exactly.
toes did move. I've seen the video.
Thank you for. So there's a lot of, the nickname came from like the ability to just find the right point, to understand that point of contact, or as you were saying earlier, consciousness of what's happening in the body, and really listening to like, what is it asking for, not what do I want to do, and then connecting and then working with that.
Mm-hmm.
How does one cultivate that ability? Because I think everyone, whether it's physical or financial or emotional or psychological or relational, they're wanting to heal something, right? So what would you say is the essence of healing, and how can people cultivate the ability to heal themselves or others?
I love that question, by the way. I think it's a really good question. You know, I go back to first finding your power inside, and then finding your balance. Like when are you in your power, really in your power? Which means if you're in your power, you will never feel nervous, you will never feel stressed, you will feel like you are at ease. When you lose your power is when we start striving for things outside of ourselves, and that's when we start creating disease. And whether it's a spiritual thing, whether it's a physical thing, whether it's an emotional thing, you have to go back to like finding the stability zone. So the stability zone creates the healing in the body, because the stability zone is where you can actually draw a new force from. And in that stability zone, you can actually heal things quickly. And basically back to what you were saying is it's really about listening to what's there and training yourself through interaction to be interested in what am I feeling, because there's so much that's happening in every single moment. Like every glance you have with a person, every look, every movement, there is a huge exchange of information, and we process zero of it. I would say, like, you know, those who are really conscious are if you're trying, then you're getting it. But most people are not even thinking in that direction, because we're thinking to kind of pull away from ourselves. So I want to bring you to go in and feel it. And
so what's the difference between, because you're a Kung Fu master, what is the difference between a Kung Fu master versus, say, someone who's just very spiritual and can come into a room and completely like change the conscious just by their beingness?
I would say they should technically, depends on obviously what your specialty is in your Kung Fu mastery, because not all Kung Fu masters are healers. Some are, some just fight. If you get to that level, whether it's a spiritual master or someone who's a high-level martial artist, they would be in the same standing where they'd be able to connect to the forces that are there, and they would be able to start adjusting them within themselves by finding balance. And I would say the gift of the martial arts, for me, is learning how to really hold force in the body. And so a lot of times, I get a lot of people who come to me, they're business leaders or people trying to go further, and athletes, and I say, no, you got to get it into the body. You have to get the energy so deep in your bones, in your blood, in your nerves, in your feet, back to the earth. Then it's yours. Then you can do something.
But how do you protect that energy? Because I would
That's a
consider
good
myself
question.
a little bit of an empath.
Yeah.
And I can sense people's
Yeah.
energy. And
Yeah.
sometimes I think, why am I feeling nervous? Oh, clearly that person is nervous.
Yeah, it's
but
not you.
It's not me.
It's not you.
But I feel
Yes.
it.
Okay. That's a really good question. Okay. So I work with a lot of people on this, and what has to happen, number one, is you learn, especially if you're an empath, you learn how to stabilize your forces on a regular basis. So you learn how to use forces that are stronger than you. Because honestly, I feel everything's stronger than us. There's so much amazing energy around us, we have to use it. So for example, connecting to the earth and learning how to use it as a shield or as a sheath, it becomes a part of your body. Then you walk into a room, you have control over your energy field. So when something comes in, it feels more like a mosquito rather than a car hitting you. And there's a level of learning how to manipulate that by your body position. So like how I move my foot, how you move your toe, how I plant my toe, every little movement changes everything that we're doing.
Well, Sifu, you need to plant me into the wrong carpet because I've been hit by that car several times. Like a celebrity will walk in and I'm like, I feel fine. And all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, I am not fine.
Right. It's so, it's such an interesting subject because I think there's so many things that we're not able to see, and so we have to trust what we're not seeing, but what we're feeling, and then you learn to work with that. What happens a lot of times is something uncomfortable comes in, and then the mind jumps. Okay, it starts racing, and then you start trying to control it from the mind, and you can't. You have to control it from the heart. It has to go into like the vital force of the body, has to go through the body, down into the earth, and then you can actually move things. It's really about like how deep can you go inside yourself? And then as you go deeper inside yourself, you'll feel it from the person, but you'll be like more like a swordsman. You'll just be like, and you'll just kind of feel it, and then you work with it very subtly.
So this must be the secret to any successful marriage.
Yeah. It's important. Look, I cannot emphasize enough how we're all healing all the time. Some people think about healing and they think about like, oh, I'm really good. Like I'll meet certain business guys and I'm like, hey, do you want to heal something? And they're like, I want to heal my golf swing. And I'm like, that's not it. That's not it. And I'm like, that's not it. No, let's really look at like what's happening.
But through teaching them how to heal their golf swing, can you, as a metaphor, direct them back to tapping into something that's deeper and more meaningful and more impactful?
I only, like, at least my approach usually is I take them in first. I will tell them what's broken. Because I say to people, like, a lot of people have problems and they're feeling broken, but they won't admit it. And it's like, if I show you a weakness and I'm like, hey, your arm, okay, let's say you're Mr. CEO, you're running a big oil company and you're not doing the right stuff. You're not behaving appropriately with your wife. You're not dealing well with your money. It's going to be in your body. It will come out in your heart. It means it will come out in your arms. It will be a weakness in your shoulder. It will be somewhere. So if I show you that and prove it to you, then generally you'll have more of a level of respect. And then I say, now we do this way. We go this way. Because otherwise sometimes it's harder to get in that way.
It's like the ethics of spirituality. And it's so fascinating. Even, to get a little bit, intense. I mean, people have sexual issues a lot because they're out of ethics. They've got to claim and recognize and pull back in their ethics. And it's a really fascinating part of the work. So fascinating, right?
So if somebody wants a crash course in this, where can they find you? Where can they find more information? How do they get involved?
You go to my website, which is themartialartsofwellness.com. And you can find me on Facebook as well, which is Martial Arts of Wellness. And I also have videos on my site that you can plug into. You can work with the programs. And basically, I start teaching you very simply how to use your force, how to acknowledge it, how to connect to it, how to move it, and how to then start to use it, as I say, in engagement or in battle.
Love it.
Thank you so much. And may the force be with you. We'll be back with more on Good Morning Wellness.
Thank you, guys.